Oh, that's better. Next slide. All right. Does anyone here own digital gold? Does anyone here own gold? All right. Do you know where that gold has come from? Like what origins, what mine it came out of? Was it mined legally or not legally? So right now, tokenization of gold is $1 billion industry. And what we tokenize is from the vault. So the only thing we prove is that it's sitting in a vault somewhere, like the Canadian Mint or in Swiss, vaults. And that's what we verify, is that there's gold in the vault. What we do not verify at this moment in time is the origins and where did it come from. And an interesting story just broke in the New York Times, and that is, so US Congress in 1985 banned gold coming from illegal means, from illegal mining and that sort of thing. However, a New York Times article found that Colombian cartel gold has made its way into the US Mint, and that this has been happening for a good part of 20 years, that drug cartel mined gold is making its way into the US Mint and being sold as US gold. So, like that's an issue, and now it's become a big problem. And another problem with not tracking where the gold is coming from, so the country of Ghana, and this is a project that I am working on currently, the country of Ghana loses billions and billions and billions of dollars in illegal mining. Gold that's being mined illegally in Ghana and shipped immediately out of the country into Dubai and other countries, and it's costing them billions and billions of dollars. Another issue with not tracking gold from extraction is ESG investors. So ESG investment funds manage trillions and trillions of dollars of funds, and they are becoming very strict on where that money gets invested. And it's becoming part of Europe's regulatory framework. So it's another reason why it's really important that we do start tracking trust right from the point of extraction.
Not to mention the child labor issues and all of the illegal smuggling and the crimes that come with it. So it's very interesting that the ESG is looking at this right now in Europe, but obviously their investments and their investment decisions make a ripple effect into the economy. And I think what we are hoping to accomplish through our topic today is just to turn this ESG liability into an ESG opportunity, where more companies are looking into this and working on ethical and legal ways to extract gold, especially from continents like Africa that's pretty much been always abused when it comes to illegal mining operations.
Yes, because another issue with this is Tier 1 mining jurisdictions, and this accounts for precious metals and rare metals as well, which are obviously becoming a really major issue right now, especially because like the US Department of Defense is getting involved in negotiating precious metal and mineral contracts. And it is like, it's just becoming a much more concern. So it's not just gold at the end of the day, it is other commodities. And as we tokenize more and more of them and more of them go on chain, is how do we track that from extraction, regardless of what metal or mineral it is. So right now, as mentioned, if you look at the slide, for gold tokenization, we start to track it from the mint, right? We start to track it from the vaults. And the goal of one of the projects that I'm working on is to start that from the ground, right? So it would go from the ground through that whole supply chain, and we would be able to track it. And AI is a big part of that. And Nasreen will get into the technology and how AI assembles all of that information. And again, we're setting a benchmark for regulation that's coming in for the LBMA and other organizations that are starting to demand this.
But I think before we go into the solutions, I just want to stop here for a second to talk about the problems, basically. Like you see, we have the ground. There's gold minerals in the ground. That's something we can't really start tracking, let's say. That's when it starts in general. Then there is the miner. Do we trust the miner? Do we trust that they have the right technologies in place? Do we trust that they have the right people in place? The buyer, the transportation, a lot of fraud and fraudulent activities could happen right there, just through taking a different route, losing half the gold. That happens every day in Africa. Then you have the refiner, the aggregator. That's also where you're working with established companies, ideally, and you need to make sure that they are audited and so on. But we're gonna, as we move forward, we're gonna suggest solutions that are technology-based, regulatory-based, and this is an open conversation. This is an open topic, I would say. We don't have all the answers, but we'll try to give some answers today. Yeah, so this is the physical verification layer. This is just a bunch of technology that we can use. It's not exhaustive. There is a lot of new technologies that are coming on the market that we can use. Absolutely, AI would be one of it, but AI will come in the next as we're talking about the trust.
So I'll go over the technology in a form of storytelling, right? So you have a miner in Africa, they show up to work, and what's the first thing that this worker is gonna do is they're gonna be fingerprinted. So in Ghana, they do have a national ID system. So there would be like a handheld fingerprinting mechanism on site, and that would be verified with the gold bod, which is Ghana's gold body regulator. So that would be the first step, is that a worker shows up and they are fingerprinted and it is verified against a national database. Then they start working, and say by 12 noon, they pull out 2.3 kilograms of raw gold, right? Then that is tracked and tagged, measured with an IoT device that's on site. It is weighed, tagged, put into a tamper-proof resistant bag, and all of this is being fed into the cloud and balanced with all the other data that's being imported. Then what happens is a gold bod authorized buyer will show up on site. They are also fingerprinted, and that is also verified. Then they take the gold that they are there to buy or move, and that is also weighed and verified and tracked against what's already been recorded. Then it's put onto transportation and it's moved, and that's tracked by drones and satellite. So as Nisreen mentioned earlier, if there's a slight delay, it could be because of weather, right? If maybe there was an accident, so there'll be slight bumps, and that would be like a natural occurrence, but maybe it'll trigger AI, to go, maybe you should look at this. But as all the data comes out and all of it's aggregated and that sort of thing, obviously AI will figure out the mean and flag. Does this look normal? Does this look, maybe it's cautionary, or is this a red flag? And then obviously when it gets to the refinery, it's measured again, and if it was 2.3 kilograms at the point of extraction, is it still 2.3 kilograms when it gets to the refinery, et cetera, and then you can talk on your fun topic, AI.
Yeah, so like Audrey said, you're gonna weigh, and I'm gonna continue on the example, and then I'll tie it all to AI and how AI can help with this. Let's say I weigh the gold at the mine, I have 2.31. That data is automatically sent, because these are IoT devices, which means internet connected all the time. With the proper bandwidth and all of the technical setup, it could send that information directly to the blockchain. We're already starting to track right? The moment we weigh from the ground, we're already starting to track. Then it's transported, all of that data, keep in mind that all of that data is being aggregated to a central place where the AI will be doing all of the thinking. Once I get to, let's say, the aggregator in the city or whatever, then we weigh, it's 40 milligrams off, right? That could happen. Then every gold, the pattern, let's say, and then you have, every week we have 40 milligrams missing here, then every other week we have a delay in transportation, these are the patterns that AI can detect, but we can't, right? If I get a report, and I'm gonna get several reports, I'm gonna get a report from transportation, and another report from satellite, and another report from the IoT, it's humanly impossible for me to connect the dots as much as AI can. Absolutely, we are going to talk in a bit about how we need to keep humans in the loop, because AI cannot make the decisions for us. But it's that pattern recognition that we are missing as humans that AI can flag. Hey, like, this is a little off. Every other week you have 40 milligrams missing. Then you have transportation issue every 3 weeks. Then it adds up, and then you can have the humans investigate further. But that's the power of AI in this. Yeah. So here is the tech stack, and Audrey did a great job with the story there, because this is exactly where this is the natural progression of how things go. I'm sorry, everyone. I'm going to start from the bottom and then going up. So this is the digital identity first. So every actor that is getting into the mine site needs to be fingerprinted, connected to the digital ID or any government identification, so that that people who are coming in and out, we know who they are. You can think of all of the ripple effect that this has, like just governments in Africa, for example, who have little knowledge of who's working, who's not working. This could be a really good opportunity to track that as well. Tagging and serialization. So physical assets bound to its digital twin at origin. So once we extract the gold, weigh the IoT, put it in a tamper bag, then attach it to a QR code or an NFC or something like that. So we're already tracking. We started, like I said, we started tracking. This could be built on a blockchain already. Like the tracking from here on could be built on the blockchain. Then you have permissioned blockchain. So once we get to the blockchain part, there's Ethereum, there's this, there's that. And you could think, well, we can just use one of the blockchains, and that could be a good idea. But because we're talking at the institutional level, and we're talking about mines and confidential industries, we think that the solution is permissioned blockchain. It can be an open blockchain that everybody's using. What Audrey is recommending to a lot of her clients is build your own blockchain. It's not that complicated anymore. You can definitely at a state level or like at a multinational company, you can definitely build your own for specifically like purpose designed and customed for this. Rules and compliance engine, real-time transaction validated before a transaction proceeds, not after. So this is where all of this compliance and regulatory bodies that we talked about, and I deal with this every day. So there's a lot of standards and a lot of compliance issues that you can't keep up with them in your brain, honestly, as a human. Again, this is an opportunity to automate and use AI so that we can do that compliance check before we even process the transaction. So we're already cutting a lot of losses here. The AI layer, like I said, pattern recognition, anomaly detection, risk scoring across the entire event stream. So once AI has the whole history tracking from the moment the gold was weighed in the mine all the way to a token sold on an exchange, AI can definitely flag that a certain token is not coming from a good place, let's say. Then you have the regulatory reporting, and I'm gonna pass it on to the expert.
I'm not compliant, so we all know regulations is a big part of what we do, especially when we're dealing with tokens, commodities, and that sort of thing. So obviously everything is built with compliance. Next. So this is back to the system being built right now and what Nasreen talked about in regards to irregularities, right? So little blips like, oh, they took 10 minutes longer than the satellite projected that they would, et cetera, et cetera. It's probably a normal, potentially a normal deviation. So you're talking about tens of thousands of data points being entered into a system at one time, right? So we set it up as a flagging system, right? So green, it's fine. Yellow, take a look at this at some point. Red, definitely take a look at this now. So instead of somebody coming into work and having to analyze thousands and thousands and thousands of documents, AI does it. AI is the information layer. And what we like to say is AI doesn't create evidence, it validates and assesses the evidence. And then red, of course, quarantined, obviously, as Nasreen mentioned, patterns, right? There's too many patterns. There's just too much going on. This is happening consistently. So obviously, it's a red alert. Excellent. So what is blocking blockchain adoption, institutional adoption? This has come up in multiple conversations, not just in regards to commodities or tokenized gold. And obviously, regulatory fragmentation. I mean, a big part of this conference, obviously, is talking about regulatory frameworks. That doesn't change anywhere in the world. That's still happening everywhere. Accountability gaps, right? So who's responsible when fraud is detected at what point, right? Who's responsible? And then, of course, interoperability. Again, as Nasreen talked about, permissioned, private, public blockchains. We're connecting, in a lot of cases, institutionalized or traditional frameworks and trying to move them into the modern tech era. And that's a conversation also across banking and financial infrastructure when we talk about cryptocurrencies and blockchains. Anything to add as we wrap up?
Yeah. So, like you said, there is like we prefaced at the beginning, that there is some technology and regulatory solutions that we could suggest, but this is an open discussion that institutions are constantly having. Everybody sees the value in tokenizing real-world assets, be it from this level of tracking that we're missing globally right now, to the value of democratizing the people being able to have a token of gold because they can't afford to buy 10 grams or whatever. Like, it's just there is a value from a social perspective, from an economic perspective, but there is a lot of work to be done here. And in the tech part, I also want to add the cybersecurity part of it also, because this is IoT infrastructure, you're connected to the internet, you're opening your whole mind to a bunch of other kind of fraud and fraudulent actors. So not to say that this is an easy undertaking, but just the conversation is happening, which is a great sign already, because this is something that we've been waiting for to happen for a while.